Alright, for this episode, considering on my other channel, my video game channel, I did a my top 5 most anticipated games of 2016. I figured, well, why not do it for my movies as well? So here goes. This is my top 10 because there's a lot of movies. I couldn't whittle it down to 5. I had to give mention to at least 5 more. So this is my top 10 most anticipated movies of 2016. Alright, so first film I have on my list, well, number 10, 10 being, the least, number 1 the most, is XMen Apocalypse. Now, this would have been further, because the truth is, X-Men is like my favorite comic book series, right? It's my favorite comic book. I love X-Men. I bleed X-Men. But ever since the first X-Men movie, I've never really gotten my X-Men film. You know what I mean? As a matter of fact, if you want a barometer of what an X-Men film should be like, I would say go to the first Avengers movie. Like, this is how when you read an X-Men comic, these characters get into certain situations, and it's tense, and it's filled with drama and excitement, and then like usually at the end of their conflict, they leave the whole place a mess, and that's what the Avengers brought to the big screen. X-Men, on the other hand, the movies, you never really got that. You know what I mean? The first movie, Bryan Singer directed, if you watch it right now, it's not really a great film. It's good, it's okay, well made, but it's not really a great, exciting film. But we kind of forgave it because that was like, the beginning of the whole comic book renaissance. You know what I mean? Like, Blade came before it, but then people didn't know Blade was a comic book character. But X-Men, so I'll say X-Men really jump-started the mainstream comic book craze. And so we kind of forgave it. The budget was like $60 or $70 million or whatever, so it didn't have much to work with. So it was like, alright, next time they'll get more money and they'll be able to do the stuff that they wanted to do. X2 was a much needed improvement over X-Men. Still wasn't it was almost there, but just didn't get there. It's like, alright, now we're talking. We're getting closer to the true vision of what X-Men should be like in X2. But then Bryan Singer went and directed Superman, and then Brett Ratner came, and he just went from this way to just like boom, like fast. You know what I mean? Like, then followed with Wolverine Origins. I was like, oh my god, why? And then it just didn't get there. And then they felt like they had to reboot or reimagine the whole series with the whole 60s movie. Like, I liked it the first time I saw it, X-Men First Class, but then after subsequent viewing, I just started hating it more because it's like representing the fact that they thought they didn't have anywhere to go with this X-Men franchise. They had to try something different. Like, come on, you haven't even scratched the surface of the X-Men mythology, but you want to reboot it to some nonsense. I'm like, whatever. Days of Future Past came out. Yeah, so, Bryan Singer came back. Also a good movie, but still not my X-Men. So, X-Men Apocalypse is just on that same wavelength of a series that's not my X-Men film. Wolverine came close. The Wolverine came close. The only thing is that last 30 minutes just felt like a outdated Bond movie, and just like didn't. In fact, why did they have to make Viper a mutant? Just stop. Anyway, so X-Men Apocalypse, number 10. I'll see it because it's an X-Men film and it might be entertaining, but as far as it being my X-Men, no. Alright, so number 9 now is Ghostbusters. Another franchise that they've tried to do a sequel or reboot for years. And to the point where I said, you know what? 1 and 2 is enough. A lot of people, talk crap about 2. I think 2 is a great film. As a matter of fact, maybe because I was younger, I loved 2 more than I loved 1. Right now, it's actually neck and neck. Granted, it's like if you watch it, both films are like carbon copies of each other. Well, 2 is a carbon copy of 1. You know, it's basically one on a bigger scale. I think that, you know, when movies try to do that, it flops. But I think this movie manages to make repeating itself on a bigger scale work. And that's just for me. And I know a lot of people who agree that Ghostbusters 2 was not that bad, as a lot of people may come out and say, hey, it sucked. It wasn't as good as the first one. Sure, it wasn't as good because, you know, the first one came out and, like, shocked everyone. But anyway, a lot of people wanted to make 3. Dan Aykroyd wanted to make 3. Bill Murray's like, no, I don't want to come back unless I'm coming back as a ghost. So just so many things just went wrong with that movie, or that plans for that film, that, you know, just I was just like, just let it die, man. Like, I'm all for like coming out with sequels and follow-ups. I don't mind. You know, I'm not one of those that say don't remake that or don't make a sequel to that. Screw it. Leave this, as long as you give me a great tale, I don't care. But like that, for some reason, I was like, just leave that one alone. Leave it. But now they're rebooting it with an all-female cast. Haven't seen any trailers, but I've seen, you know, the cool-looking posters and set photos. So I'm curious, and because it's from a beloved franchise of mine, I put it at number 9. You know, because at least if they do this, it's not like I can, you know, it's, unlike X-Men, which I have a definite vision of what these characters are and how they can be translated in film. I don't really have a, you know, a set vision of what a Ghostbusters can be like, you know. So if it's funny and has, you know, great actors and just like a cool story, I don't care. I haven't seen a trailer, but I'm looking forward to this more than X-Men, so I put it at number 9. Number 8 is another film that is, I think the director Roland Emmerich tried to get the sequel to this going a long time now, and it's Independence Day Resurgence. Was skeptical at first, to say the least. Like, okay, you're gonna make a sequel to a movie that was you know, almost 20 years old, I think. Yeah, 20 years old actually. And you won't have Will Smith, but you know, I like the idea of the fact that they're incorporating the technology that they got from the aliens in the first movie into their technology now, and preparing for rematch. You know, because they're like, okay, because obviously even before that, I've always thought of sequels like, okay, you know, if they'll prepare for themselves just in case they come back. And then even when Roland Emmerich said this would be like a trilogy, they'll do two sequels. I always thought like, all right, so the third one could go where they got attacked for the second time, and the third one they're like, no way, man, we're gonna go and get them. You know, so the third movie could take place in space and them going to fight the aliens on their turf. But they nixed the idea of doing 2 back to back, and so we're getting basically a larger scale attack a second time around. But I'm excited. The trailer got me excited. The fact that it used the president's speech from the first movie, I was like, oh man, it got me hyped. So yeah, I'm sold. I can't wait to see this movie, even if Will Smith is in it. As a matter of fact, if you look at the first movie, Will Smith was in it, but he's not the major star in it. It was really Bill Pullman and Jeff Goldblum that's the major stars of that movie. But it's just that Will Smith had like a higher pedigree, like he's an up-and-coming superstar, that they kind of marketed him as the star of this movie, but he really wasn't the star. Whatever. Anyway, then number 7, I have Suicide Squad. Okay, now I meant to mention this at the top of my my video, but I'm mentioning it now. A lot of my films will be comic book films. Reason being is I'm a comic book guy, right? I'm not gonna sit here and pretend and just to sort of, you know, come off like a movie snob by mentioning movies that you've never heard of, like, oh, I'm looking forward to that movie. What movie is that? You know, just so to become like a sophisticated film pundit or anything like that. No, I love comic books, and we're in an age where comic book films can be done right, and I'm excited for them, and I'm gonna let you know because I'm not a jerk, right? So, Suicide Squad is my number seven pick. We only seen one trailer, and the one trailer we saw is amazing. Some people thought like, it wasn't enough or whatever, but it gave you great tone of what this film is gonna be. My only worry is the fact that they have Will Smith in it, that they'll sort of make a character that's not supposed to be the leader of that group be the leader. I know Tom Hardy was originally cast as Rick Flag, who is the leader, so it would have made sense that the two would kind of like share leadership role, or Tom Hardy, you wouldn't mind if Tom Hardy was a leader and Will Smith's character was like the secondary character because it's freaking Tom Hardy, right? But they got Joel Kinnaman to be Rick Flag, so did they in the script kind of sort of say, all right, now we have Will Smith being the bigger character, he might as well be the leader, but whatever. I wasn't a big fan of it. I didn't read the comic book anyway, so it doesn't really matter to me, but all I know is I knew Rick Flag was the main character. But anyway, going on to Joker now, we've seen so far 2 live action interpretations of Joker, 3 if you count the Cesar Romero version, but I'm talking like cinematic wise. We see Jack Nicholson and Heath Ledger, and both give very different variations of Joker, and both are incredible. Jared Leto is giving you a different version. Now, will his version be as accepted and iconic as Jack and Heath's? Time will tell, but mere fact that they're going balls out and trying something new, I'm there, not trying to repeat what Jack did or Heath did, or even what Mark Hamill did as his version of Joker in the animated series. He's just going for a more crazier, deranged, grunge or goth version of Joker. Brave choice, but hopefully it works in the span of the 2 hours we'll be watching him. I'm excited for Suicide Squad. Next film is Bourne 5. We don't have a title yet, which is strange. Usually we have the titles already, going in, but we're like maybe 5 months away from this release, and we still haven't had a title for this. But fifth Bourne, Paul Greengrass is back with Matt Damon as the title character. We took a break from Matt's character when we did Bourne Legacy with Jeremy Renner. A lot of people were hoping that Jeremy Renner's character would team up with Matt Damon's character, Jason Bourne. Still could happen, but so far they're making it known that no, we're not doing a whole team up movie, which could be crap. Like probably at the end of this movie will lead into because the way how all the Bourne films have done it is that even though you'll watch the movie, the second movie could actually take place in like this little part of basically they overlap. Like the scenes could very, very well overlap. So they could do something creative where because Legacy basically takes place the same time as Ultimatum. They went in and out of Ultimatum in that movie. So very well you could see at the end of how Legacy ends could possibly be the middle of the new Bourne movie. So who knows? We'll see where they go with that. But it will be cool if by the end of that they plan to team these two characters up or make them go at each other, wherever they want to do it. My number 5th pick, another comic book, Doctor Strange. Now, reason why I'm excited about Doctor Strange is that it's one of those films, Marvel films, that is going to be visually different than the rest. Just like how you had Guardians of the Galaxy that played more like a space opera. You have Ant-Man, which is more like a heist film. This one is more delving into the supernatural, and they got Scott Dickerson, who directed Sinister, I think. You have that guy who's from a horror background to direct this massive Marvel film, and you're gonna bring that supernatural element to it. So I guess they're going for the more horror, supernatural, psychedelic acid trip of a movie. So yeah, visually it will look different from the rest, and it's the fact that they're introducing the supernatural realm into the MCU. I'm really excited about this film, and I like the fact that Marvel is, it's keeping you on your toes. It's not just releasing superhero movies that's just like guys in costumes saving the world or whatever. We can do a small scale movie like Ant-Man. We can do a big scale movie like Avengers. We can do a space odyssey like Guardians of the Galaxy, and we can do like a period piece like Captain America: The First Avenger. They'll go all over the place with this kind of movie. We can do a political thriller like Captain America, and I'm assuming that Black Panther will also be like kind of a geopolitical kind of thriller type deal. But yeah, I'm excited for Doctor Strange for bringing that new feel to the MCU. So kudos. Then my number 4 pick is Deadpool. Jesus, the first from the concept video, the one that leaked, right? That got the ball rolling for the actual movie to come out. Like that was straight up Deadpool right there. Now I haven't read Deadpool comics, but I read Cable and Deadpool, and I read X-Force. All the comics except for Deadpool's main series I've read where Deadpool is in it, so I'm well versed in some Deadpool here. I'm not a Deadpool noob here. May not have read his solo comics, but I've read all the kind of comics that he showed up in. Cable and Deadpool, X-Force, and even some of the X-Men stuff that he showed up in. But yeah, that movie, like, we got a taste of what Deadpool should have been in Origins, but then they sewed his mouth shut, and it's like, wait, what? I know it was supposed to be a joke. The Merc with the mouth no longer is able to speak, but it just didn't work for a lot of people, including myself. That movie in general didn't work. Now they're doing like a whole new, like, basically they're retconning that Deadpool in Wolverine X-Men Origin Wolverine. And as a matter of fact, because Deadpool is known to break the fourth wall, I'm sure he's gonna mention that movie. Like, hey, paid no attention to that movie, never happened. But yeah, from the first trailer to this trailer that we saw recently, like, everything we've seen from this movie is amazing. Even the marketing, which is exactly how they should market this movie, with Deadpool showing up in other people's poster, with him doing viral videos. This is exactly the Deadpool we're looking for, so I can't wait for that. So yeah, I think, and it's rated R. But the fact that it's rated R and the budget's kept low, people are assuming like, okay, tops opening weekend 30 million. But the way how this movie's been marketing, I was 70, possibly 100 million. It won't be a surprise. It's not being a surprise anymore if this movie does really well, because of the marketing and the hype with Deadpool. So can't wait for this movie. Then my number 3 pick, believe it or not, is Batman vs Superman. Right? It's not number 2, not number 1, but 3. And the reason why it's number 3 is maybe because of the last trailer kind of tempered my expectation. I know an interview recently came out with Zack Snyder, who said that that trailer, trust me, still hasn't shown much, right? Which is why it's still a contender as like my top 3, because, like, come on, it's Batman versus Superman, and I can't wait for that movie to come out. We haven't seen Batman and Superman go head to head, and we haven't. It's basically, I know Man of Steel was sort of the start to their DC cinematic universe, but Batman v Superman is actually the film that represents the coming of these heroes, and it's called Dawn of Justice, so obviously it's like the precursor to the Justice League. And the fact that we're going to see Aquaman in this movie, we're going to see, I think, possibly Flash in this movie, and Cyborg and Wonder Woman, that's pretty much more than half of the Justice League team already. So yeah, I'm still excited to see it. Yes, the last trailer wasn't as great as I wanted it to be. revealed too much. Even if Zach said it, trust me, it hasn't shown you a lot of stuff, but it made one key mistake in showing that these guys are gonna team up. Yes, we know it, especially comic book fans. We know they're gonna team up at the end of this movie, but the movie's called Batman v Superman. If you're gonna market this movie as Batman versus Superman, do not show that they team up at the end, because that makes no sense marketing wise. Don't do that. That's stupid. Even if you're saying you haven't shown everything, that is still dumb. Anyway, enough of that tangent. I'm still excited for this movie, so it's my number 3 pick. My number 2 pick is Rogue One, a Star Wars story. Now, Rogue One, we saw The Force Awakens, and it already topped Avatar domestically. It's making buku cash here, right? It was an exciting film. It reinvigorated our love for the Star Wars universe, and even if it took a lot of stuff from A New Hope, it still was a Star Wars film, and it just got us more excited for any Star Wars materials we can get. And so while we wait for the continuation of Rey and Finn's and Poe's story in episode 8, which comes out next year, we at least get to see a Star Wars film this year with Rogue One. It basically takes place before episode 4, and it features the crew that are tasked with the mission of stealing the plans for the Death Star that you see in episode 4. So this movie will play more like a Dirty Dozen war picture type film. So I don't expect it to look like the Star Wars films that we've seen. Like, maybe it'll have more of a grungy, gritty look to it, not so much adventure. But the fact that this last movie made a lot of money, I don't know if it'll translate to this one. Like, maybe people will sort of feel, even if like you have your mainstream audience that don't really realize this is an offshoot, there's something about it that might not look familiar to them when it comes to what they just saw. They'd be like, this movie feels different, because we haven't seen a trailer. So maybe when the trailer comes out, it looks like, well, not really looks like Force Awakens, but it feels like a large scale movie. Or maybe it just feels like a smaller scale adventure, and people will be able to tell and maybe not be so hyped. Maybe the Disney machine doesn't hype it up as much as they did The Force Awakens. Who knows? Or maybe they put just as much force to this movie as they did with Force Awakens, and get people to go in and see this movie. But anyway, I'm excited for this. I'm back in my Star Wars mood, and I can't wait to see what they do with this, the first spin-off film in the Star Wars entry. And then my number 1 pick, and I'm sure you can guess if you've been following comic book movies and haven't heard me mention this movie yet, my number 1 pick is Captain America Civil War. Now, this is the one we've all been waiting for ever since Marvel kind of announced this whole shared universe thing. And granted, at the time when we were hoping for this movie, Marvel didn't have Spider-Man. They still don't, but they do, with the whole let's share Spider-Man. And they didn't have X-Men, and they didn't have Fantastic Four. My thing is, you really didn't need X-Men, because in the main story, X-Men really didn't play a big part. They kind of sat it out. The only X-Men character that really played an important part was Wolverine, but his story was in his own comic book. But if you read just the main Civil War storyline, X-Men didn't really show up until like one little part where Tony Stark asked him, hey, do you want to help us fight? And they're like, no, we're staying out of this. Get out of here. So yeah, X-Men really doesn't play a big part in it. The character that does play a big part that they didn't have other than Spider-Man was Fantastic Four, because they built the negative zone and that housed the prisoners and all that stuff. But whatever, they're not going in that direction anyway with this Civil War movie. They're going more, it's a Captain America movie, which we were worried about, like, okay, they're bringing in all these Avengers movies, will it feel like a Captain America movie? But we saw the trailer, and this is how you do a trailer. We saw a trailer, it didn't give away too much, but it gave away, it told us what the kind of tone they're going for, basically showed us why this is a Captain America movie and not an Avengers 2.5. Basically, it's a continuation of Bucky and Cap's story, and basically it's just the Civil War storyline is surrounds them. You know, it's still about Cap defending Bucky, and because of that, and because of what's going on with the Sokovia Accords, which is basically their version of the Superhuman Registration Act, you know, he has to be on the opposing side because of what that Accords would mean for his friend, the Winter Soldier, and then that's why Iron Man and Cap are basically at odds with each other. But yeah, I'm super excited. We're gonna see our first glimpse of our new Spider-Man, the new MCU Spider-Man in this movie. Not playing as big a role as he did in the comic books, because as I think what was happening is they had an idea to make the story with Spider-Man, and they came up with a secondary story without Spider-Man. And because they couldn't make a deal with Sony in time, you know, they went with the second story, which had Black Panther, but then they got Spider-Man, so they're like, all right, let's put Spider-Man in it, just not as the role that they had intended the role to be when they first came up with the concept of doing a Civil War movie with Spider-Man in it. But I'm still excited. I'm still excited to see what Tom Holland brings to the role of Spider-Man, and if he's able to pull it off. But so folks, that was my top 10 most anticipated film. Running it down again: number 10, I have XMen Apocalypse; number 9, Ghostbusters; number 8, Independence Day Resurgence; number 7, Suicide Squad; number 6, The Bourne 5; number 5, Doctor Strange; number 4, Deadpool; number 3, Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice; number 2, Rogue One; and number 1, Captain America: Civil War. Alright, so that's my top 10 list. What are yours? You can let me know down below. So leave your comments. I want you to like this video, subscribe to the channel to get more videos like it, and you can follow me on Twitter. I'm at Marky Tundra, and you can like us on Facebook. That's facebook.com/PopCultureGalaxy, and visit PopCultureGalaxy.com for all your entertainment goodies. So until next time, folks, peace.